What is mulch? The process of mulching is, at its most simple, the act of covering the soil with material. Depending on what material you use, mulching has a multitude of benefits and is one of those rare once or twice a year activities that the soil and plants in your garden will thank you for. Mulching is suitable for your annual vegetable beds and for your perennial plants, shrubs, and trees. All plants benefit when you mulch. Mulch keeps the soil at a good temperature, keeps weeds from growing, conserves water, and generally looks nice. Compost doesn't do any of that, it just makes the soil work better than it may have before. It isn't a fertilizer, necessarily, though it does offer great nutrient-saving effects. A mulch is a layer of material applied to the surface of soil. Reasons for applying mulch include conservation of soil moisture, improving fertility and health of the soil, reducing weed growth and enhancing the visual appeal of the area. A mulch is usually, but not exclusively, organic in nature. What is mulch made of? Mulches can be broadly divided into two categories: organic, made of natural material, and inorganic, made of man-made material, and there are benefits to both options. Wood chip, well-rotted manure, compost and leaf mold are all organic mulches, so called because they are biodegradable and will rot down into the soil below. Wood chip, when used as mulch, decomposes relatively slowly and so will protect the soil with the added benefit of not needing frequent reapplication. Leaf mold, which is made from autumn leaves which have decomposed for a year or more, when used as mulch, will improve the structure of your soil as well as its capacity to retain water, although its nutrient content is low. So if you're looking to replenish your soil through mulching, compost or well-rotted manure are a better bet. What's the point of mulching? While all kinds of mulch can be deployed to suppress weeds by depriving them of sunlight and to retain moisture in the soil by reducing evaporation, organic mulches have the important added benefit of enriching the soil as it is broken down by the soil life. This results in improved soil structure, replenished soil nutrients, and eventually healthier, stronger plants. They also have the benefit of making your garden look neat and tidy if you like that kind of thing. While inorganic mulches tend not to be quite so nice to look at, they do have benefits of their own. They can be used to warm the soil in the spring, ready for early season plantings, or kept in place to cover the soil and planted through with warmth-loving plants like aubergines or chilies. Here at Ubuntu, we never throw anything away as everything has potential. We follow a winning method each and every time. Adding some mulch to the bottom of your planter can be a great way to improve drainage. Not to mention, you'll need less soil to fill the pot. Mulch also protects the roots from the negative effects of sunlight and decomposes and releases nutrients into the soil. It also maximizes water retention, which can be quite beneficial in drought-like conditions. Mulch number 1, leaf mulch. Collect leaves. Many homes have leafy trees and plants that provide a great mulch source, and leaf mulch is a good all-purpose mulch for your garden. You can either gather leaves by raking up ones that fall in the autumn, or collect the leaves that you prune off plants. Avoid using the leaves from walnut and eucalyptus trees, as these can prevent other plants from growing. Rake the leaves into a pile. Use a rake or leaf blower to amass all your leaves into a large pile. To prevent damage to the lawnmower blades, pile the leaves on a flat section of lawn. Spread the leaves out into a layer that's no more than 2 inches, 5 centimeters thick. Use a shovel and wheelbarrow to collect all the leaves if you don't have a rake or leaf blower. Shred the leaves with a lawnmower. Once the leaves are all piled together in a thin layer, turn on your lawnmower and mow over the pile a few times to chop the leaves into smaller pieces. Continue shredding until the pieces are dime-sized. Shredding the leaves will help them to decompose in the garden, and this will provide the soil with nutrients. You can also use an electric leaf shredder to chop the leaves. Use hedge trimmers to manually shred the leaves if you don't have anything else. Use the mulch right away and store extras. Once the leaves have been shredded, they're ready to use as mulch in the garden. Extra mulch can be stored in a ventilated barrel, a large bag with air holes, or spread out on a tarp and covered from the elements. Once the leaf mulch is ready, you can also combine it with other mulch materials from around the yard. The longer the mulch is stored, the more nutrients it will lose. Mulch that is stored in low or no ventilation areas will begin to ferment and release high pH toxins, which are deadly to plants. Organic recycle mulch. You will need cardboard boxes, newspaper, brown paper bags, optional, waste paper, grass clippings, and leaves. Shred boxes, paper and newspaper into small pieces and mix well. Start with a layer of grass clippings. Spread it evenly over the surface of your vegetable bed or planters. Top the grass clippings with a layer of leaves, and then top the leaves with a layer of your cardboard mix. Water down till all ingredients are moist. Repeat the steps one more time. Top off your mulch with a layer of potting/compost soil mix. Your vegetable bed/planters are now ready to plant in. Composting 101. Recycling food and other organic waste into compost provides a range of environmental benefits, including improving soil health, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, recycling nutrients, and mitigating the impact of droughts. What is composting? Composting is the natural process of recycling organic matter, such as leaves and food scraps, into a valuable fertilizer that can enrich soil and plants. Anything that grows decomposes eventually. Composting simply speeds up the process by providing an ideal environment for bacteria, fungi, and other decomposing organisms, such as worms, soapbugs, and nematodes, to do their work. The resulting decomposed matter, which often ends up looking like fertile garden soil, is called compost. Fondly referred to by farmers as black gold, compost is rich in nutrients and can be used for gardening, horticulture, and agriculture. Organic discards can be processed in industrial-scale composting facilities, in smaller-scale community composting systems, and in anaerobic digesters, among other options. This guide focuses primarily on home composting, which is a great way to keep your organic discards out of the waste stream and produce a valuable soil amendment for your own use. Benefits of composting. Reduces the waste stream. Composting is a great way to recycle the organic waste we generate at home. Food scraps and garden waste combined make up more than 28% of what we throw away. Not only is food waste a significant burden on the environment, but processing it is costly. The average cost to landfill municipal solid waste in South Africa was around R8.20 per ton in 2019. With South Africa generating more than 267 million tons of municipal waste in 2017 and sending two-thirds of that to landfills and incinerators, we spent billions of rands on waste management. Composting at home allows us to divert some of that waste from landfills and turn it into something practical for our yards. How to compost. Compost ingredients. Organisms that decompose organic waste need 4 key elements to thrive: nitrogen, carbon, air, and water. Since all compostable materials contain carbon, with varying amounts of nitrogen, composting successfully is just a matter of using the right combination of materials to achieve the best ratio of carbon to nitrogen and maintaining the right amounts of air and water to yield the best results. The ideal carbon to nitrogen ratio for a compost pile is 25 to 30 parts carbon for every 1 part nitrogen. If your pile has too much carbon-rich material, it will be drier and take longer to break down. Too much nitrogen-rich material can end up creating a slimy, wet, and smelly compost pile. Fortunately, these problems are easily remedied by adding carbon-rich or nitrogen-rich material as needed. Greens for nitrogen. Nitrogen is one of the basic building blocks of life, and it is an essential element for growth and reproduction in both plants and animals. A higher nitrogen to carbon ratio is most commonly found in fresh organic material, often referred to as greens. Having plenty of greens in your compost pile makes sure the decomposers can grow and reproduce quickly. Some household greens you can add to your home compost pile are fresh grass clippings, food scraps, and coffee grounds. Browns for carbon. Another essential compound for all life forms is carbon, higher proportions of which can be found in brown plant material. Carbon acts as a food source for decomposers, helping to keep them alive while they break down waste. Typical browns you can add to a compost pile include dead leaves, branches, twigs, and paper. To achieve the best carbon to nitrogen ratio in your home compost, a rule of thumb is to put in 2 to 4 parts brown materials for every 1 part green materials. Oxygen and water. Finally, like any other living organism, decomposers need oxygen and water to survive. To ensure a faster home composting process, you will need to make sure your compost system has the right amount of air and water. As mentioned above, if you are not in a rush for finished compost, you do not have to maintain your waste. The decomposition will still take place, just at a much slower pace. Optimal airflow can be achieved by layering materials, making sure your materials are in small pieces, ideally no thicker than a finger, and turning piles regularly, or adding another type of aeration system. As for water, the ideally moist household compost pile will be about as wet as a wrung-out sponge. If you are including food waste in your pile, it's likely it will be wet enough, but if not, just add water. Temperature. Hot composting is achieved when the balance of greens, browns, air, and water creates ideal conditions for aerobic organisms to thrive. The optimal peak temperature for aerobic composting is 54 to 60 degrees, which occurs when aerobic macro and microorganisms are breaking down waste and reproducing at a fast rate. This high temperature also kills any lingering bacteria or weed seeds. Consistent aeration. Aeration encourages an aerobic environment, which helps to speed up the composting process and reduce odors. It is recommended you turn your pile, or rotate your tumbler, around once a week during summer and at minimum once every 3 to 4 weeks during winter. You can also add piping or large sticks to help increase natural airflow. Maintaining moisture. Moisture is essential for composting. Your pile should always feel like a wrung-out sponge. Too dry a pile may cause the composting process to slow down. Too wet a pile may create an anaerobic environment, which can cause bad odors and also slow down decomposition. Water your pile, or add more wet materials if it becomes too dry, and add carbon-heavy browns if it becomes too wet. Size. A 1 by 1 meters is the ideal size for a compost bin or pile. You need a large volume of waste to be able to produce a high enough temperature for aerobic organisms to thrive. However, piles larger are not likely to allow enough air to reach the decomposers at the center. They may also be harder to turn. Chop up larger pieces of food or yard scraps before adding to your bin or pile. The smaller the pieces, the quicker the decomposition process will be. A good rule is not to include anything thicker than a finger. Location. The ideal compost location is a dry and shady spot. If you live in a rainy climate, avoid placing your pile or bin under eaves or places with poor drainage, or else the compost may get too soggy. If you live in a sunny environment, find a shady spot so it doesn't dry up too quickly and you don't have to keep adding water. How to start a compost pile. To start your pile, add alternating thin layers of greens and browns, ending with a layer of browns. You can keep adding materials over time until you reach the optimal height of 3 feet. Wet the compost pile if needed as you layer. Then leave the pile alone for 4 days to allow initial decomposition to begin, after which you can regularly aerate your pile or bin by turning with a pitchfork or garden fork and regularly monitor the moisture level. What can be composted? Yes. Greens. Most food waste, coffee grounds, and filters vegetables, fruits, eggshells, manure, sand. Grass. Browns. Soiled napkins. And paper plates. Newspaper. Leaves and straw. Wood chips. Yard debris. NO. Plastic. Glass. Metal. Styrofoam. Meat. Dairy. Oily products. Fatty products. These materials can be composted, but they risk attracting pests and causing odors if not managed properly. Compost them only if you are experienced. Compost can be made in as little as 6 to 8 weeks, or, more usually, it can take a year or more. In general, the more effort you put in, the quicker you will get compost. When the ingredients you have put in your container have turned into a dark phases of composting. Suppose the conditions are just right for aerobic, with oxygen, composting. In this case, organic wastes will go through 3 phases as they decompose. The mesophilic phase, thermophilic phase, and maturation phase. Brown, earthy-smelling material, the composting process is complete. You've just built a compost heap that offers composting creatures, bacteria, fungi, and creepy crawlies, everything they'll need to perform at their peak. Your compost is about to enter the mesophilic phase. The mesophilic composting team tackles the task of decomposing your organic wastes. At the start of the process, the compost's temperature is about 10 degrees C. Then, as the mesophilic composting team breaks down the organic wastes, they produce heat, raising the temperature. Within a few days, the heap warms up to about 46 degrees Celsius, and the compost moves into the thermophilic phase. The thermophilic phase, during this phase, the heat-loving thermophilic composting team goes all out to break down the organic wastes. The team decomposes wastes at quite a rate, letting off great heat as they work. As a result, the temperature in the heap soars to about 60 degrees Celsius. After 2 weeks or so of fast, fiery work, the team runs out of things to decompose, and their work intensity eases. The temperature in the compost then drops to what it was in the mesophilic phase. Finally, the thermophilic team hand over to the mesophilic squad to finish the composting. The maturation phase, with temperatures in a pile back in the range of 10 to 45 degrees Celsius, the mesophilic composting team continues breaking down what's left of the organic wastes. The team works slowly and steadily to get the compost plant-friendly. The maturation phase is the longest, lasting several months. Homework. 1. Plan what planting method you will be using. Directly on the ground, in a vegetable raised bed, in bags, planters, or containers. 2. Plan what composting method you will use. In a bin, crate, bag, hole. 3. Collect all that is needed to create mulch and compost. 4. Document 1, 2, and 3. Thank you for watching. I hope the content in this educational video will help you on your mulching and composting journey. If you have any questions, comment down below. If you liked this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. If you would like to join the next Know Your Soil training, you can leave me a comment and I will get back to you. Happy composting!